Air pollution is a threat to our health and our game. Together, we can play our part. Let's make a change. To breathe life into football. Cleaner air, better game.
Hello, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to welcome everyone watching to this Cleaner Air, Better Game workshop, a significant event for UEFA. And we are going to let in a very special panel of guests to discuss a crucial topic to the world right now, which is climate change and air pollution. This workshop is indeed significant as we delve into what European football can do for the climate and the environment. This event is part of the EU Green Week 2021 activities, which are focused on the theme of zero pollution. We've started this event with a short video inspired on the UEFA Cleaner Air, Better Game campaign, which was launched to mark the start of the Under-21 European Championships back in March and focused on the importance of protecting clean air to protect our game. Now, over the next hour or so, we'll hear from leaders and experts who will be discussing best practices in raising awareness and creating change through the power of football and sport overall. So I think now would be a perfect time to introduce our first speakers who are joining us live from Ljubljana and Brussels, respectively, the UEFA President Aleksander Čeferin and Executive Vice President of the European Commission, Frans Timmermans. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you to this workshop. And thank you so much for taking time from your busy agendas to participate and discuss this crucial topic, which is climate change and what sport and football can do to it. I would like to hand over the floor to the UEFA President with no further ado.
Thank you very much, Pedro. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. As UEFA President, it is a real pleasure to welcome you all to this online event. It is, for me, also a great honor to organize it from my home country, just a day after an exciting final of the UEFA Euro Under-21 European Championships, which was also played here in Ljubljana. I'm proud that this tournament, hosted jointly by Hungary and Slovenia, was a carbon-neutral event, despite the fact that the group stage and the knockout stage of the finals had to be played in 2 different months. This outcome is part of UEFA's commitment to compensate for all greenhouse gas emissions generated by its football competitions. But this is just the start. The Cleaner Air, Better Game campaign, launched specifically for this tournament, goes even further, appealing to the entire European football community to reduce emissions and, of course, air pollution. The campaign is part of UEFA and European football's wider commitment to the European Green Deal and the European Climate Pact. And that is why I am delighted to be joined by the Executive Vice President of the European Commission, Mr. Timmermans, who is, by my opinion and by our opinion, not only the leader of European environment and climate policy, but also a true football fan and a friend of the sport. And that's also very important. I can confirm that European football is ready to do everything in its power to help achieve the EU's vision of a climate-neutral economy by 2050. And I'm eager to hear your thoughts on that, dear Frans. My friends, since actions speak louder than words, I will name just a few that have been taken already. First, we will use the global popularity of UEFA's elite competitions to promote the Green Deal's call for action, which will premiere in September during UEFA Champions League matches. Second, we are compensating for the carbon emissions for all the staff, teams and traveling supporters for Euro 2020, which will start in Rome this week. 3, together with the German National Association, the host of the Euro 2024, we have launched a social responsibility strategy with one single goal: to organize the most sustainable Euro ever. Next, we have promoted the zero pollution messages of the European Union as an official Green Week associate, with former football superstars such as Filip Lahm and Silija Šašić speaking at the opening of the conference. In addition to our commitment to the European Green Deal and European Climate Pact, UEFA has also signed up for the United Nations Sport for Climate Action framework. And I am happy to see that a lot of leading European football clubs are following our steps and joining this initiative. We have supported projects in both under-21 Euro host countries that will leave a positive legacy for the future, as well as donating bikes and encouraging sustainable travel. Trees have been planted in all the host cities in our joint fight to trap carbon pollution and contribute to cleaner air. And of course, we have led the Cleaner Air, Better Game campaign, encouraging the European football community to commit to small lifestyle changes in order to help improve the quality of air that we are breathing. We did this by walking or cycling more, by moderating domestic heating, or by reducing food wastage. I must admit that only recently did I fully realize the magnitude of the problem of air pollution. We knew it was affecting the health of players and safe playing environments. And we have treated this problem with utmost seriousness related to health, safety, and medical protocols and standards. But dear friends, the scale of the threat of air pollution beyond sport is shocking. There are other experts, but I can say that over 400,000 premature deaths every year in Europe because of air pollution. Globally, it kills 9 million people every year. And I find it worrying to think that the children and youth of the world, and my own children among them, are growing up and playing football in an environment that might be risking and damaging their health due to air pollution. When looking into the face of such a grim reality, it is impossible not to react strongly. We should react strongly. The immediate reaction is needed from all of us, and that's what we will do as UEFA. By reaching millions and millions of people every day, football has the potential to raise awareness on these threats, which is a critical first step to getting everyone involved. Football has never failed to inspire, and we are confident that our joint voice will be heard again, the voice of our national association, the voice of our clubs, the voice of our leagues, the voice of our fans, the voice of our players, the voice of our coaches, referees, and other match officials, but also the voice of our sponsors and partners, who have proved over the years how committed they are to football. European football family is well known for its unity in times of trouble. And as we have seen just recently, when our European model of sport came under threat, when we stand together, we are a great and formidable force. And I am, my friends, confident that we can direct that some force to protect our planet and our game. Each of us has a big role to play in this important match. Today, we have a stellar lineup of panelists, featuring a diverse group of leaders and thinkers, who will be discussing how football and sport can be force of change. In the climate landscape, of course. I thank you all for your time and expertise, and I'm very enthusiastic to hear your observations. From our side, I know that UEFA's new Director of Football and Social Responsibility, Michele Uva, will share some of UEFA's plans to intensify our work in this area. I will leave it there for now, Pedro, as I'm sure we are all equally eager to hear their thoughts about the campaign and about the role of European football in climate action from our dear guests. Thank you again to all of you, and best wishes to all of you from UEFA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. And now I'll pass the ball over to Mr. Timmermans for his opening remarks as well.
Thank you very much. And let me start by thanking Aleksander for his... Thank you for allowing me to speak today. And I want to start by thanking Aleksander for his inspiring introduction. And I want to say good morning to everyone who's on this call, because I believe it is an important issue. I have myself been working with UEFA for almost 15 years on different issues, always pertaining to fundamental values that we share. We started 15 years ago with a campaign to combat racism, and UEFA has been one of the leaders in fighting racism, which is one of the scourges of our society. And UEFA has been forward-looking and also courageous in addressing this issue that in some of our member states is still a complicated one. And I draw inspiration from all these activities UEFA has undertaken over the last 15 years, as far as I know them personally, also in combating, for instance, child trafficking, in making the game clean again, and culminating actually, I would say, Aleksander referred to it, culminating in showing that when people want to hijack the game for profit, that UEFA, together with the fans, together with millions and millions of Europeans, said no, blatantly no, and stopped that development. And Aleksander, I also want to thank you for that. It is important. It is a direct relationship with our values. I mentioned this because it is related to the issue of pollution and air pollution. This goes right to the center of a fundamental change we will be seeing in our society. The climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis, the challenges to our environment, mean that we will have to learn to live in a different way. We will have to learn within the boundaries, live within the boundaries of our planet, and we can do it. And what I've seen over the years in many aspects of change, positive change, it is very often children and young people that educate older people to understand what needs to be done. And in that context, and we see it now with the Green Deal as well, there would be no Green Deal without the Fridays for Future movement. There will be no real change if we do not listen to our children and young people who tell us that their future should be our prime concern. And the game, football, can play such an incredible role. We've seen this final last night. I mean, I really enjoyed the game, and I hope this is so. I hope the A teams will understand that they have to play the same sort of game in the weeks to come, because it is an inspiration. And you know, I was on the board of a professional football organization for a number of years. In regions, locally, you can inspire millions of young people who very often have a too bleak outlook on life, who fear that they have very little opportunities, and players who are successful, who come from their communities, inspire them also to be the better selves, to do whatever they can to achieve results in life. And if we link that sort of aspiration to our values, including the value to create a climate neutral Europe in 2050, then I believe we can inspire so many young people who normally would perhaps not be reached in education, in higher education, but who can be reached by their heroes, the football players. We can inspire a whole generation to take us into a cleaner future. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this. The European Commission will be working closely with UEFA on this campaign, and hopefully also on other issues. Every issue pertaining to our values is always linked to football. Football is a business, yes, but it's also an inspiration. It's also an expression of our values, of our aspirations, of our ambitions. And we shall never, ever abandon that, because it is helping millions and millions of Europeans to have a more positive outlook on life. It inspires, it gives a sense of belonging without leading to confrontation with diversity, with minorities, with others, because the sense of belonging transcends other differences such as cultural, linguistical, and racial. So I will continue in any role I play, and certainly now as Executive Vice President of the European Commission, to work together with UEFA and others to show that football can be an inspiration and can help us change in the right direction. And Aleksander, your leadership in this is exemplary, and I want to commend you for that. And I'll continue to work with you closely, if you allow me, because I think we have a lot we can achieve together. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I want to take advantage of the fact that you're both here together, and the roles you have and the influence you have as well in your respective areas. I wanted to start with a quick question for the UEFA president. And you talked about the influence of football and the power it has to communicate, to connect. Tell us how it can concretely help the environment, what measures can be taken, and the importance it is to play a team game, not only with football stakeholders, but also with stakeholders like the European Commission.
Pedro, I've said many things in my opening speech, so I don't want to repeat myself. But the fact is that the reach of football is unbelievable. The reach of sport is unbelievable. And we have to use this reach for good cause. I don't want football to be used for negative ideologies. Football stadiums are sometimes used for negative things. I want football to be used for positive messaging. Football is not just 8 teams playing. Football is not just top games. As Frans said, football is in every village. Football is being healthy, have values. And young people listen to us, and not just young, everyone. And that's why it's very important that we use this reach to promote also the work on the environmental level, because we didn't do enough till now. Honestly, we didn't. We were fighting other problems, but we didn't do much about it. Now, about our cooperation with the European Commission, I think this is a great team. We are a great team. I'm happy that Frans is there, because you see when you speak how passionate you are about football. And this is what we need as well, because it cannot be a formal campaign where we do something and write some nice sentences how we will help. We have to understand the game, and if we understand the game, we understand how we can spread positive messaging around Europe. So I think it's a great start, but it's just a start. And now we have to do something more concrete, and then we can meet again after we can present something concrete.
Thank you, President. A question to Mr. Timmermans on how experts and policymakers in the EU can really work with sports organizations like UEFA to ensure that changes people make are the right and most effective ones as well.
Well, anything we do in this direction should be driven by the best available scientific knowledge. And that comes from scientists, from academics, sometimes also from public authorities. But then you have to translate that into concrete steps every individual citizen can relate to. Because this change, nobody can escape from this change, and everybody can contribute to this change without, changing their lives radically or making their lives more difficult. But the beauty of this change is, although it affects everyone and it will change the course of our society, it is also something we can do. And we have to translate the best available scientific knowledge into very concrete steps that people can take. And also sports associations can take. Look at your carbon footprint, look at how you travel, look at how you use the assets you have, et cetera, et cetera. We can all reduce our carbon footprint. We can all improve the air quality around us using the best available scientific evidence. We at the European Commission want to bring that together, translate that in very concrete steps, and work closely with UEFA to translate that into things associations and clubs can do to demonstrate that they're part of this transformation, and by doing that, inspire every individual citizen to do the same thing.
Gentlemen, both of you mentioned the Euro in your opening speeches. Of course, the tournament starts in just a few days on Friday. I would like to get both of your views on how this tournament can have an impact in promoting solidarity and unity in Europe in a post-COVID world, and inspiring people to work together after many months where all of us had to be separated because of the pandemic. And maybe start with Mr. Timmermans this time.
Well, you know, when I saw yesterday in Ljubljana, already more people coming to the stadium, I felt so sorry I wasn't there. You know, going back to the stadium is something I've been dreaming of for such a long time. And, you know, I'm a football fan like millions of other football fans, and we're all dreaming about going back to the stadium, living the game, not just on TV, but on the spot. And coming together in the stadium, showing that we respect the rules that will keep us healthy, and at the same time find ways of communicating and getting together. I think that's an inspiration. The way UEFA has been handling the stadiums leading into the Euro now, working with national authorities to have an exciting game, but also a safe game, I think is an inspiration to many others in other sports, but also in festivals, in music festivals, in other huge gatherings. So if UEFA, together with the national associations, can demonstrate that we can organize a vibrant and open Euro, but at the same time with a conscious attitude towards the security and safety that we need to have to not infect more people, I think that could have a huge effect on other areas as well.
President, over to you.
Look, I fully agree with everything that Mr. Timmermans said. From our point of view, we are included into organization of the Euro. First of all, we had a tough year behind us. We organized more than 1,300 UEFA matches under strict health protocol during the pandemics. And now the Euro, first it was planned in 13 countries, then 12, and now 11, is a difficult exercise. I must say it's a difficult exercise anyway, but more difficult now in these times of pandemic and health protocols and difficult traveling and everything else. But despite that, we are excited to have the Euro in 11 countries. We are excited that we will travel from Baku to Glasgow, from St. Petersburg to Sevilla. I think it's a great pan-European project where we can promote also fight against climate change and all the other good values that are very much needed in this world these days. So looking forward to the great Euro, and fully agree also with Mr. Timmermans about fans on the stadium. We started with fans now, yesterday, and Champions League finals, Europa League finals, and it was emotional. It was a completely different thing. You see what you forget from time to time, that football is about football players and about fans. And all the rest is a supporting stuff. And I think we are looking at a fantastic Euro starting. And the only problem is that we will probably be completely exhausted after it. But we are used to that. If we survived this year, we will survive more. So looking forward for a pan-European Euro, traveling around and promoting good values.
Gentlemen, fantastic to get your thoughts and your inspirational words also on this very important topic of climate change regarding the Euro. We're all hoping for an exciting and safe event. And I know as football fans as well, outside of your official capacities, all of you will be also following every goal and every decisive moment very, very closely indeed. So thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this workshop.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, it was a pleasure to have both the UEFA President and also the Executive Vice President of the European Commission take part in this workshop. Next, we're going to hear from someone who has been at the forefront of policymaking on the international climate matters overall during her illustrious career as a diplomat. Cristiana Figueres is a founding partner of Global Optimism and the former executive secretary of the UN Climate Convention. She oversaw the delivery of the landmark Paris Agreement in 2015 and is convening leaders from all sectors to shine a light on the importance of citizen action through our campaign partner, Count Us In. Here is a short video from Cristiana with a message in which she talks about the dangers of air pollution and also the impact that football can have as a driver for change.
We know that athletes that are either training or competing in air polluted stadiums, cities, or at home where they're competing on their field or training on their fields cannot perform at their top level if they don't have pure air to be breathing. Those of us who work on climate change, usually when we speak up, we reach the convinced few, those who are aware of climate, those who are already changing their habits and having made commitments to contribute to the solution. That is why UEFA is so important, because it is a platform that reaches millions of people who are not climate nerdies, climate junkies. It is a platform that reaches out to, in particular, so many young people, but also so many not so young people who are fans, who are enthusiasts, who really follow football and the different clubs. And that is why it is so critical that UEFA has launched this very critical campaign so that your fans and your followers can understand that there is a big link between clean air and a better game or better games. Beyond the important role of governments and of car manufacturing companies and of the advance of technology, it is actually us, the users, the consumers, those of us who use transport, whether that is private transport or whether it's public transport. It is us who can actually accelerate a transformation that is already occurring in the mobility sector, but that needs acceleration. It needs to go from linear to exponential. And it is the collectivity of all of us as individual users, consumers of those products and those services who can actually make that transformation go exponential. So, can we count you in?
You can indeed count us in, Cristiana, and as part of the UEFA Cleaner Air, Better Game campaign, an online digital platform was created with our partners Count Us In, where people anywhere in the world could take a small step to help the environment. And it's worth looking up online if you have a chance, either now or after this workshop. Now, that was, of course, only one of many elements of the UEFA Cleaner Air, Better Game campaign, which has also left a legacy in both host nations of the Under-21 European Championships, Slovenia and Hungary, with a variety of activities. We're going to get more information on that pilot initiative and also on what football overall can do to promote sustainability and the protection of our planet with the help of our panel of experts and leaders. So let me introduce, with no further ado, our guests for our panel, starting with Lučka Kajfež Bogataj. She's a Nobel Prize-winning climatologist, specialist in agricultural meteorology, and a professor at the University of Ljubljana. Bogataj was named as a member of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and has also won an Order of Merit for her work in this area from the Slovenian government. Mathieu Flamini is a French, hello, Lučka. Mathieu Flamini is a French former professional football player who had a 15-year career and played over 400 matches for club and country. He's also an environmentalist and an eco-entrepreneur and has dedicated a large part of his life to promoting sustainability. Hello, Mathieu. Lindita Shaferi Salihu is the Sport for Climate Action lead at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. She leads the work on the commitment of sectors in climate action and played a key role in the elaboration of the Sports Charter for Climate Action, among others. And last but not least, Michele Uva is the UEFA Director for Football and Social Responsibility. He leads strategy and actions for UEFA regarding social and sustainable development and relationships overall with key stakeholders, including the EU and the UN, as well as specialist environmental partners. He was a UEFA Vice President and has a long career in sports administration overall as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, fantastic to see you here taking part in this workshop. Michele, I'll let you kick off the discussion. And I'll ask you concretely about the campaign that UEFA initiated at the start of the Under-21 European Championships, Cleaner Air, Better Game. What has been its role? And talk to us about what football can do and is doing to promote sustainability overall.
And use these topics and with the fantastic panelists today. But I try to do where UEFA is now at the moment, because when we feel that when your sport is played and followed by millions of people, your actions have an enormous impact on society, especially the young. That brings a responsibility that football cannot ignore, and is why UEFA has integrated sustainability in its global strategy. Specifically, we believe that football should and can play a leading role in promoting environment consciousness and on sustainability. Our aspiration is to become a platform for dialogue and action, reaching and engaging all the members of our football family. To this effect, in the 2021-2030 10 years long-term strategy we are building, which will be presented in the next December, we will be call out 4 areas of focus: environmental protection, event sustainability, circular economy, and infrastructure sustainability. We are also in the process of developing our sustainability policy, which will be underpinned by specific targets, KPIs, and actions. The starting point for this ambitious and transformative journey is the Clean Air Better Game pilot campaign launching during this Euro Under-21 in Hungary and Slovenia, which has helped inform both stakeholders, fans, public opinion, media about the real and present danger of air pollution. The campaign advocated 10 simple changes, as Mr. Timmermans said, 10 simple changes that we can all take in our daily lives to reduce the impact of air pollution. We created an online platform showcasing how individuals have been taking steps to protect the environment, the symbolic planted trees, the promotion of sustainability, mobility, and the guarantee that under-21 tournaments is carbon neutral. And in fact, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Hungarian and Slovenia Federation for having been fantastic partners in this pioneering initiative. Our campaign taught us to reach the European Green Deal target of Euro for 2015 and guarantee a tox-free environment. We must act now in securing pollution prevention in all UEFA activities and events, looking at 3 dimensions. First, prevent pollution at source. Second, where there is not possible, reducing pollution through conscious actions and behaviors. And lastly, when pollution occurs, it should be remediated and related damage compensated. I think this is our campaign, and of course, it's for me interesting to hear what the other panelists will be take and advise us UEFA about these topics. Thanks, Pedro.
Thank you, Michele, and we will be doing exactly that. So let's open the floor to the other panelists as well. And next, I'd like to go to Lučka, because the UEFA campaign talks about air pollution. I know that you're an expert in climatology and agricultural meteorology as well, and air pollution, I'm sure, has a key role in the climate change conversation overall. So I'd like you to please talk a little bit about that, and then the impact you think that a campaign like this and the influence of football can have overall in raising awareness and helping resolve these issues.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. I'm enjoying so far with your excellent opening speeches. Actually, President UEFA said a lot of things we can just say, yes, you're right. Yeah, climate change is here to stay. It's already here, and it will actually impact every aspect of our life, not just sports. And that is high time that we actually see more action in every field. Not just actually in European Union, all over the world. This is my hope, because it's a global issue. And I would like to stress also connections between air pollution and climate change. Actually, climate change will make air pollution even worse, especially in the summer. And we all know that summer is the time for sports. So we will have a double win. If we mitigate climate change, we will at the same time actually get better air. But there's still a long way to go, I'm afraid. It's high time that UEFA joined, because I see that the impact of football and sport in general is huge. Maybe three thoughts about that. One thought is about events themselves. They are excellent opportunity to promote, and I always saw football also in the light to promote human rights. And human right for clean environment is something that is at this moment extremely important. The second one is what already your president mentioned. The sport is connected with so many jobs, supporting the football, for instance. And if all these jobs can get a little cleaner, a little greener, that would be an enormous contribution. Not to mention the sponsors. Sponsors are part of football, and they can also be challenged to do more climate action. Also, sport is always present in media. I believe now a lot of media are following this workshop. So you seize this opportunity, because you are in the media every day, every hour, all over the world to get the message across. And maybe the most important part are young people. We all know that how football is popular with young people, and sportsmen are role models for them. So this is another opportunity. Maybe it is important that sport promotes also idea about learning, about following science by young people, because they have to learn also the basics, not just how to behave. So I think, yeah, that's a lot of things, and I'm really glad that this moment has arrived, that we can cooperate, also scientists with the sportsmen.
Thank you, Lučka, and your passion for this topic definitely shines through in your answer. I would like to go to Lindita next, because you're used to working with sports organizations, and I'll ask you to share some best practices later. But first of all, tell us generally about your experience in how sport overall and football can really be a driver for change, and how that process occurs.
Thank you, Pedro. Well, as mentioned by the president, UEFA is a founding signatory of UN Sports for Climate Action, which was built really to position climate action on the agenda of sports, but also help sports align with the goals of Paris Agreement in two ways: by doing what they can to reduce environmental impact, but at the same time, use their power to inspire fans and athletes around the globe to do the same. So there is a platform for sports to come together and learn from each other and really scale the efforts that are already underway. I think, as was mentioned by many of our of speakers before me, we already know what needs to happen. And we already know that where we are right now and where we need to be, there's a big distance and a big gap. And this is, of course, climate change is a big problem. It is not just up to sports to solve it. Nobody can do it on their own. But I think the idea here is for people to know that if everyone does not do their part in terms of addressing environmental impact, that means that we will not be able to achieve the 1.5 degree, which will allow us to keep the planet safe for the future generation, for the future of sports, and for the future of our kids. So I think we are now at a point where the political regulatory landscape is really changing. We see a lot more happening. And we're also now at that point where it is really easy to understand what each organization is doing, how robust their commitments are. Are they really walking the talk? So it's not just about promotion, but it's also about really doing your part and bringing others along in that journey so that everyone can help that strategy become more robust and more meaningful.
Thank you, Lindita. I'm really pleased that we also have a former football player with us here today, because there aren't that many historically who have spoken about climate change and the environment, but that's true for Mathieu Flamini. And Mathieu, you recently gave an interview to UEFA and UEFA.com in which you talked about your journey, but it is still rare to see footballers speak up on this. Why do you think that is? And why did you take that role out of your own initiative as well?
I mean, the first thing I like to say is I'm very proud, because like you have mentioned, I've been part of the community of football for such a long time now, and obviously seeing like such an important organization such as like UEFA taking the lead during that period, that's very inspiring, and I'm very proud. Regarding my side, is it true that I've been involved in sustainability for over a decade now for various reasons. For the company I co-founded, also I've been involved with the Olympic organization for the next Olympic Games in Paris, and so various opportunities have helped me to basically understand better what is the problem. And because we also now have access to the data and we are very much aware of like the impact of pollution on all of us, I mean like 8 million of deaths on a global scale is like incredible. So I'm very proud to see that UEFA is taking the lead on that aspect. I'm also like very pleased to see that on my side I can combine one passion, which is sustainability, which is close to my heart, and at the same time the love of football, which I have since I'm a young kid. And I strongly believe that because football is such a large public audience, I strongly believe that they have a great work to do here. I mean, obviously not only creating awareness, which is I think important, but also bringing solution, because the reality is like people are aware there is a real problem. People are aware that we have to change, but people want to hear solutions. And I think that the type of work we have to do and the type of ambition we need to have, and explain to people that through small changes, through small actions every day, put together, they can also be part of the solution. And I think football is about love, football is about passion, football is about unity. And we really need to empower people and explain them that basically together we can make it happen. And that's why I'm really excited about this initiative, and I'm very pleased to be part of it.
You talk about solutions, Mathieu, and I would like to go back to Lindita, because you have concrete examples of what some organizations and what some clubs as well have done themselves. I mean, there's the curious case of the Forest Green Rovers, which are incredibly sustainable in the UK, but you have such a great view on what is being done. So tell us about some of the positive stories and those positive solutions that can inspire others.
Yes, thanks, Pedro. Indeed, the UN Sports for Climate Action now counts about 240 signatories, and about 10% of them maybe come from football. And these obviously includes UEFA, but also other governing bodies like FIFA and federations and a few leagues and clubs. So I think we can say that these signatories all start from different starting lines, and we're having very encouraging conversations about the need to increase ambition, the need to do it right, but also the need to learn from each other, because many are starting really from basics. And of course, we've heard the case of UEFA. I mean, there's UEFA is not starting from scratch. So there's lots that has been happened in the past to really understand the impact. And I think, once you have that understanding, you're very well positioned to start taking action. And since you mentioned a couple of football clubs, I could talk a little bit about Wolfsburg, for example, just to say that what they've done is they've started having a lot of analysis before coming up with targets. So they've outlined a reduction pathway. They're saying by 2025, we're going to decrease 37% of our impact, by 55% by 2030, and so on. So they've implemented a series of actions that include switching to 100% green energy, have undertaken steps towards zero landfill waste, and now they're looking to understand how they can influence the travel of fans. Obviously, about 80% of emissions come from travel of fans. So there's a lot of education, and there's a lot of influence that a football club can do in this case. What is important for them is that they have a full buy-in in the club, and so they're really all working together. Everybody knows that this is a priority, and they're exploring ways to see how they can bring their fans and many other clubs and stakeholders along in this journey. Of course, there's other football clubs from the Premier League, and they're all basically focusing on sourcing 100% green energy and looking at water recycling systems and lighting and energy efficiency and so on. But they're also looking at different creative ways to, say, plant trees, every time something happens or an academy player makes their first team debut and so on. And Forest Green Rovers, there's this small club that has now come to this international stage because they've really embedded this purpose. They brought eco-thinking and technology to a new and large audience, football fans. So they've introduced many sustainability measures, including solar panels, electric car charging points, and so on. I guess you all know very well. But I think what we're seeing here is that all these efforts in football actually converge around key areas, which is energy, water, waste, food, and transport. What this speaks of is that football is embracing the issue of climate change, which is great, but we also need to accept that we are still very far from where we need to be, as mentioned earlier, before football can play a winning role, which it can. The good news is it can. We all want football to be a positive story. I'm also a big football fan, and we know it's possible. Going forward, I think we need to look more carefully. How can we bring a lot more football in this conversation? And also, how can we scale existing efforts massively in the next months and years?
Lindita, since you talked about clubs and gave some concrete examples, I'm going to go back to Mathieu and ask him what experience he had during his career with how clubs were conscious or not, and how this campaign from UEFA can maybe be something that inspires them also to change their behavior and become more aware of it, whether it's air pollution with this message or other campaigns and initiatives that could come in the future. What's your view on that?
If you would like me to be honest, I think obviously we come from a long way. Clubs are not very aware of what are the necessary measures to do in order to get better, and that's why I think they need to be supported on that aspect. Because just to mention the club of Arsenal, where I played over 8 years, they have the real intention, to become greener, to do things better, but they are not necessarily expert in that field. And I think with UEFA taking the lead, with UEFA creating a task force and surrounding themselves for expert, that will also help the other clubs which have the desire to become greener. So over my career, obviously, I haven't seen too many measures, but I think the time is now. It's important to drive change now and not tomorrow, because we're getting to the point where we don't want to be too late. So I think I'm really excited about the aspect that UEFA is taking the lead, and UEFA will have to work closely with the clubs, because the clubs really have the desire to drive change, really have the desire to become better in what they do. And I think, again, small changes, small measures can really make the difference. And because football has such large audience, I think what's important to mention is like a lifestyle health is very important, having a more sustainable lifestyle. And we can speak about nutrition, you know, like changing small things in your nutrition can really have a positive impact on CO2 emission, and all these things which are related to pollution, obviously, because we play football outdoor, but also like the way athletes are living. Athletes are having a healthy lifestyle, the way athletes are eating. All these things are small changes which can be communicated to the larger audience in order for people to include, you know, small changes, small wins every day, and put together, we can really have a big impact.
The good thing is, Mathieu, that you not only talk the talk, but you walk the walk. And I know you're very sustainable in the way that you have your lifestyle, and that is an inspiration. I wanted to go back to the big picture and bring Lučka back into the conversation, because there's some big goals out there right now. There's a goal of having the EU ambition of becoming the first climate neutral continent by 2050. I wanted to ask you if you think that's possible. And then Mathieu was talking about lifestyles, but when you have the US climate envoy, John Kerry, coming to Europe and saying that Americans don't need to change their consumption patterns of, say, meat to make any impact on the climate, what shall we make of all of this? So the EU goal first, is it too ambitious? And the mixed messages that are out there a lot of times in this sphere. What do you make of all of this?
Okay, so let me start with European ambition. It's very nice to be ambitious. I agree with that. But I'm afraid that there are some illusions around, because if we want to achieve that goal, sometimes this demand is really big. And there's this saying around that if everyone does a little, but then we will achieve only little. So we really have to make big steps. And what I see crucial for the next years in Europe, regarding fossil fuels, if I start with that, actually, we will have to change the whole European transport fleet. This is a fact if we want to achieve this goal. So how to do it? It's not just by introducing electric cars, it's also by traveling in different way, or probably traveling much, much less, which is painful, I know, but this is the solution. The second thing, extremely important for European Union at the moment, is a complete change of the most building heating systems. So if we have to really make our homes, our offices, our stadiums, if you want, carbon neutral or carbon free. And of course, we are expecting 10 to 20 times more investments and increase in green energy. So these are three the most important things. Of course, how to say that to people in a way that they don't feel frustrated. It's mixed approaches. Yeah, it's logical that it is hard to say to people, you have to change your lifestyle. It's much better to talk about efficiency, technology, but I guess it's a combination of all these things at the end. Because if we just wait for Europe, for state, for I don't know, politicians to take action without our personal involvement, we will not come far. And speaking from personal point of view, we don't all travel, but we all eat. So really, nutrition and how we deal with the food wastage is one of the crucial things. And of course, the next I would put traveling habits. And this is, I don't know the clear answers what the best solution will be. But flying, for instance, let's be honest, it's the biggest part of our carbon footprint.
Michele, a lot of insight here to take in over the last few minutes. What's your reaction to what you've heard? And also, as you hear all of this, how are you inspired to lead with concrete measures to make a concrete change?
So, I want to be honest. We have a lot of new thing to think about. I think that only to introduce that we are working also in human rights policies, human policies that are strictly linked also with the environment. It is including also health and well-being, that it's for us, it's a very important topic. But we must be also realistic and find a balance between topics where football can make a direct impact and those where our influence is more indirect. UEFA cannot go from 100 to 0 overnight. Making football more accountable for its climate and environment impact will take time. Not least to build up our technical expertise in this new field for us. We started only 5 months ago to talk on this journey. However, there can be no turning back. This is for sure. The impact of climate change on our game is not going away, and it will take all our energy, our effort, and also our innovation that has characterized our organization's response to year of these challenges, to find solutions through reasonable objectives with the clear actions and our strong commitment. On very concrete new action we are working on is in the UEFA Sustainability Event Management System, for example, which has the key objective to monitoring our events and to anticipate future trends. This system should become operational soon, and the pilots are successful. We will be looking to scale it to all our events and across all the 55 federations, also to create the cascada effect to reach the base of our pyramid composed by more than 400,000 clubs and 90 million practicants. Last, certainly not least through, I'm very excited about the innovative plans that President introduced in his speech about Euro Germany 2024, which we hope will be showcase what a formidable partner football can be for the environment. Whatever action UEFA takes, we will achieve nothing by working alone, as Lindita said. Issues like climate change and air pollution pose global questions whose answers will never lie with any one institution. But I think that will be a lot of ideas that come. We feel our role. We won't go, as Mathieu say, directly to the solution through the actions. And to build this, we are also opening a new environment advisory board in UEFA with the fantastic expertise, external expertise, to help us to understand what is environmental link, football and environment linked together.
Thank you, Michele. And you talked in your first intervention here in this panel about listening and also learning as part of this process. And my last question to the panel, and then I'll come back to you, Michele, but to the other panelists is, what advice do you have from your expertise? What advice do you have for UEFA? What advice do you have for sport concretely on next steps and getting everybody together to take this seriously? And I don't know if there are any volunteers to go first, but I'll go around the table. And Mathieu, maybe this time you can go first.
Yeah, I think something which Michele said, which is important, is like to surround yourself with the right people. I mean, UEFA is only started a couple of months ago and already is having the right approach, which is basically like to create a community of experts around and basically try to identify what are the best solution in order to be implemented as soon as possible. Obviously, it's a journey. I mean, you cannot be like from day one, I mean, to day two, you know, like a perfect approach. But I think the way, I mean, like UEFA is moving forward is the right one. It's surrounding themselves of experts and identify what are the best solutions. And after that, making sure that they implement the solutions. I mean, I think many industry are being like, are facing this transition, and football, it's logically like one of the industry will have to face this transition. And I'm really excited to see like UEFA like standing up and taking the lead on that aspect. So that would be my humble advice.
And it's well appreciated, Mathieu. Maybe Lučka, if you can go next, please.
Yeah, well, all this conversation reminds me of an African proverb, which was something like that: if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to get far, you go together. And I think we have to find a right mixture of that, because we have to go fast and we have to go far. So in one side, we should inspire individuals to change the lifestyle, to follow actually a new path, to somehow that climate action is considered a normal part of our life. But on the other hand, also we have to work together, like good teams do, like good organizations or nations do. And there were several important words mentioned also by Michael, like more partnerships, more innovation, maybe more equity as well. I think that UEFA should also promote that, because equity is an important part of climate action. We all know that many poor people cannot change things, but very rich ones, they don't want to change. So equity is something that I think should be pushed through climate action also into the arena. Thank you.
Yeah, equity and inclusion for sure. So everybody feels that they can make a change.
Exactly.
And over to you, Lindita, as well.
Yes, well, I mean, I'd like to build on what Lučka said as well. I think practically we need to do all we can to phase out fossil fuels and replace them with renewable energy sources. We need to find better ways to move around, and football can create demand for a more sustainable transport. We need to reduce waste, we need to improve our diets, and we need to make our buildings and businesses greener. What is more important, we need to start working more with businesses that are like-minded, because this is how we learn, but this is also how we influence each other to do better. I think we're all learning every day. It's not like we've solved climate change before, but unfortunately, time is a luxury that we don't have. We're trying through Sports for Climate Action to offer a platform that will enable organizations to learn from each other, to pool resources and have this peer-to-peer exchange to accelerate this learning. And this is because, again, you know, if we delay now, the steeper the reductions will have to be going forward. And this will just mean that we will not be able to achieve the 1.5 degree pathway. So I just wanted to end on this note to say that the role of governing bodies like UEFA cannot be underestimated. We're delighted to have them as founding signatory. And we believe that it is uniquely positioned to lead the way and set the direction of travel for European football, both by walking the talk, but also by exploring how football can be helped in this journey.
Thank you, Lindita. And we'll close the panel discussion with a final word from Michele on the campaign and also the importance of this workshop, Michele.
Yes, thank you. Undoubtedly, there is a lot of work ahead of us. We understand. We still have a lot of learn about how and where football can best use its influence, its platform to support climate action. And I fully agree, the equality and inclusion in health and well-being also in this area. After all, UEFA only signed up to European Union's Green Deal last December. What is certain is that we must connect and form a solid partnership with the people who work on these issues daily on the global institution, the governments, the politicians, the media, the scientific expert, and also all the football stakeholders, starting from our 55 national associations, our clubs, and our base of pyramid. Football is not an individual sport, and never is this. Now, more than before, we need to play as a team to win the toughest, I think, and most important match of them all, our future sustainability. UEFA is here for the long road ahead, driven by conviction that we can, indeed must, make a difference. We will go fast, but together we will go faster and fast. Thank you very much. And of course, thank you for the fantastic panelists that are today help us in this process. We will involve you in our journey. Thank you, Lučka Bogataj. Thank you, Mathieu Flamini. Thank you, Lindy Taxaferi-Salut, and of course Pedro. And thanks also for the UEFA staff that is a fantastic job in this journey to organize this pilot test of Cleaner Air Better Game that is our startup project. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a final word from myself as well for appreciation to all of you of sharing your expertise on the matter, your insight. Michele, I think after this workshop, the pressure on you is going to go up to have more work, and to go faster and go further than before, like Lučka said. And it was indeed a pleasure discussing this topic with you, such an important one for our generation, but especially for generations to come as well. And we hope that everybody enjoyed this honest and open discussion about the topic. And it's an important milestone for UEFA, this workshop, as it continues its path to increasing and improving the work that it does in the environmental and sustainability landscape. A final word as well, thanking everyone who helped put this workshop together. Of course, we would have loved to have been all physically present together in a workshop, but it was a sustainable way to do it. And maybe the next one, we will be able to all be together after the effects of the pandemic have subsided. We'd also like to express our gratitude, as Michele did, to the national associations who supported this campaign, the Cleaner Air Better Game, especially the Slovenian and the Hungarian one, who were very much a part of it throughout this pilot initiative during the European Under-21 Championships throughout the last months as co-hosts. And we're going to leave you with some images from one of the host nations, Slovenia, a country that helped us and supported us with a variety of campaign activities over the last month, and always tries to promote sustainability in its forest and countryside areas. Thank you very much to all of you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, traveler, it's too late to go back now. The forests have filled your lungs. Rivers run in your heart. You have set the course for the land so green and abound with unspoilt nature that you will never be the same. You have come to Slovenia. To live hand in hand with these natural riches is a deep-rooted gratitude locals feel every day. The respect for nature shows in the way we think, live, and do. Slovenia Green is a unique story and a great lesson in sustainability for the rest of the world. It began with a pledge to preserve the pristine nature for us and for you. We set out on a long, steep path and became active guardians of our natural heritage. Local communities and tourist providers have all come together to build a unique model of sustainability in tourism. Over a decade, we put together a visionary policy that nurtures everyone by the table. Today, we are one of the world's greenest destinations. We encourage you to visit us by train, bike, or on foot. On your way, you will come to understand why we included the right to clean drinking water in our Constitution. We believe in responsible observation of the mysterious wildlife. The inhabitants of our ancient forests can teach us all how important it is to protect our planet. When your step becomes heavy, it is time to rest. We think green accommodation should be as close to stars, birds, and trees as possible. We believe in the green inspiration from one generation to another, from one traveler to another. It comes with a view that overwhelms. To know how to listen to a tree is for us a way of traveling too. You can never cross the same stream, walk the same forest path twice. Our commitment and enthusiasm for sustainable tourism have been contagious. Today we stand united, together with you, dear traveler, under the vision of Green Slovenia.